When I was a younger boy, I loved watching boxing. I used the slightest opportunity to tune into GTV channel every Friday night to watch bout recaps. I enjoyed it when people were beaten in the ring. I took it merely, not knowing the health risk involved. Boxing has been practiced as a fighting skill for thousands of years. It was seen as an essential skill to master for war in ancient times as a means of hand-to-hand combat. Boxing was monetized as a sport in England in the 17th century. Yes, boxing is an interesting sport that has given people the avenue to amass wealth. Many people are rich, but at the expense of another person's pain. Boxers like Floyd Mayweather, Manny Pacquiao, Tyson Fury, Anthony Joshua, and many others have made it big time in the boxing world. Still, the fact remains that they have suffered brain injuries which will manifest itself later in their lives. Indeed, there are injuries in other sports, but they are not directed to the head as in boxing. The damage to the brain is higher in boxing than in any other sport. The goal of boxing is to knock an opponent out. The more blows to the head, the more damage is caused to the brain. The brain is surrounded by cerebrospinal fluid, which cushions and protects it from damage. Whenever there is a hard knock to the head, the brain experiences a back and forth movement, which causes it to collide with the inside of the skull. This stretches and damages brain cells and can lead to concussion, which is knockout in the case of boxing. A South African boxer, Simiso Buthelezi, became disoriented during a bout and began punching an empty corner of the ring. It was later found that Simiso had a brain bleed and died some days later. Patrick Day, Dennis Manson, and Maxim Dadashev are a few boxers who lost their lives due to head injuries sustained in the ring. Why not ban boxing and save the lives of our loved ones? After the death of Scott Westgard, a British light heavyweight boxer, Peter McCabe, Chief Executive of Charity Headway, on the Right Stuff channel, was asked if boxing could be made safer.
British Medical Association asked that very question when it set up a scientific panel of experts to look at this, and the conclusion that they reached was that the only safe way to box is to stop people punching others in the head. What happens when you sustain a blow, a punch to the head, your brain, which is such a precious organ, actually moves around inside the skull. And so the impact on the front will be followed by the movement and the rotation of the brain inside the skull, and it will collide with the opposite side where the blow has been struck.
Also, Dr. Martin Mortazavi, a leading neurosurgeon and expert on the brain, explained concussion.
Somebody is knocked out in a boxing match, okay? You can have a big bleeding. The bleeding increases the pressure in the brain, so no blood flow comes to the brain gets knocked out. Or they can have diffuse axonal injury. There is not a major bleeding, but these shearing forces with acceleration and deceleration makes these axons to completely disrupt.
Aside the brain injuries, facial injuries, hand and wrist injuries, broken noses, dislocated jaws, broken ribs, and ear and eye damage are other physical injuries associated with boxing. Retired boxers are more susceptible to mental health disorders like Parkinson and neurological trauma. According to a study from the American Association of Neurological Surgeons, 90% of professional boxers experience different brain injuries throughout their career. Boxing has harmed and continues to harm people. The more boxing is encouraged, the more lives it destroys. Ban boxing and save lives. Ban boxing so that the youth aspiring to be boxers live longer. Boxing in ancient days was a skill for self-defense and not for arranged fights that caused health risks. Ban boxing so that mothers, wives, and children will be at peace.